this time instead of 2, but we do appreciate that. Robert Tillman will start his 2-minute response to that question now. Thank you, sir.
I am Robert Tillman. I'm running for Congress to change the outcome of last year's election in 2010. I ran in that campaign, but I lost in the primary. And you're talking about Obamacare. There's no such thing as Obamacare, but President Obama does care. But we passed a Patient Protection and Affordable Act. Doesn't that sound really positive that we're trying to do something for America? And Republicans labeled it Obamacare to try to criticize President Obama. But we turned a negative into a positive because now we call it Obamacare, although it's still the Patient Protection and Affordable Act. It gives women a right. Women are considered a pre-existing condition in and of themselves because the insurance company calls it that way. And now you can also keep your children on their insurance policy until they're 26 years old. You can get your prescription drugs filled year-round without falling into the donut hole. You can get insurance if you have a pre-existing condition. These are all things that are involved and implemented in the Patient Protection and Affordable Act. What we need is more things like this. And as Democrats, we're going to try to improve the Patient Protection and Affordable Act and implement it in 2014. But when started in 2013, there's going to be some more positive things that you're going to get. So we do not want to repeal it. If anyone out there who's thinking about themselves, they should vote as if their life depends on it. Because there are people who do not have insurance, and the Patient Protection and Affordable Act is going to give you that opportunity. I'm Robert Tillman for Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert, for that response. We're going to move over to Thomas Jefferson. I'm going to turn his mic up and turn all the rest of them down, and that gives us less echo, which is always a pleasant surprise. Thomas, your 2 minutes for this response that was just given by Shane now starts.
As far as in regard to the Patient Protection and Affordable Health Care Act, I think it's too expensive, and this is one of the things that we really need to look at. The thing I'm not in favor of is voting 33, 34, 35, 36 times to repeal it until we know what we have to replace it with. And that's kind of the approach that I would take. You know, look at the 2 million people that it's helped, but what about the 28 million it hasn't? And that's the thing I'm looking at, is that it seems to, it does actually provide a benefit to some people, but there is a large, and I mean vast majority of those that it was intended to help that it won't, and it actually provides a disadvantage and a tax disadvantage. And then I think there was a provision in there for the sale of durable medical equipment to have a special tax that was to help fund this. I mean, it's actually costing healthcare increases through the forms of special taxes, and it's putting an undue tax burden. And I think that was what the Supreme Court ruling was they said, yeah, of course you can do this because the government can tax its people, and this boils down to just another form of tax on people. And your healthcare should not be another tax. You know, healthcare should be healthcare. And this was more of a watered-down insurance reform that everybody, you know, fought over, and you get what you get. I mean, everyone fought over it until this is the thing that we have now. So like it or not,
30 seconds.
Like it or not, I think that, you know, the Obamacare is going to be in place. There's a chance, maybe, that it won't be. But what I would rather see happen is start working on the next thing. You know, what great idea does Paul Ryan have? What great idea would Harry Reid come up with? You know, what have we got going on? I know what Gary Johnson has in mind. I know what I have in mind. But, you know, that's the thing is, what do we have to replace it before we repeal it? Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas Jefferson, for your response on that one, sir. Okay, now we will move to the last candidate of his response, which is Mike Pompeo. Sir, if you give me just a second to set up your timer, you will have 2 minutes to respond to the question that was given by Shane Farley of newscal.net. Shameless plug right there, but I think it worked. I think it worked pretty well. Okay, Mike, you have 2 minutes. That begins now.
Great, thank you. So the question was about the Affordable Care Act. I think it's the single worst piece of legislation ever to pass the United States Congress and be signed by the President of the United States. It is incredibly job destructive. That is, there are already folks here in South Central Kansas who can't find work as a result of employers who just can't afford to hire folks. Second, it takes $716 billion out of Medicare. So if you're a senior and you're worried about Medicare's continuation, the Affordable Care Act is not good for you. It takes $716 billion out of Medicare. It creates a new entitlement program at a time that we already can't afford to pay for the programs that exist already. My dad's 83. I've got lots of folks that are friends of mine who are already drawing Medicare and Social Security. The last thing those seniors need is another entitlement program that is a drag on the federal fisc when we already are $16 trillion in debt. This is also the largest tax increase in the history of the United States of America. Enormous amount of taxes buried. The taxes on the sale of your home, taxes on medical devices, taxes on health care plans. This is not the right direction to take our health care system. We know this. We know that the health care system wasn't perfect before the Affordable Care Act. And the Affordable Care Act is certainly not affordable. We can go back and create competition in the health market, force insurers to compete all across the country for your business to add value. Talk to your docs. Go to your docs here in South Central Kansas. Ask them what they think about the Affordable Care Act. I am very worried when we get into more rural parts of our state, places like I'm sitting tonight, places even further west, you will find doctors who simply refuse to treat patients because the Affordable Care Act doesn't let them run their business, doesn't let them be able to have the resources to truly treat the needs of their patients. The Affordable Care Act, we shouldn't wait for anything to undo the Affordable Care Act. We need to do it now.
And thank you for your response. We will now move to the rebuttal section, which is 1 minute to respond to what was said by both of your opponents. We will start with Robert Tillman. That's going to start here in just a second. Robert, are you ready? Okay, your time begins now.
I'm Robert Tillman. I'm running for Congress because I don't believe a word that Congressman Mike Pompeo just said. And if you don't believe it, or even if you do a fact check. Because what Republicans are doing is that they don't tell the truth, and then when they do almost tell the truth, then it's got a twist at the end that puts it back into the lie category. I just believe that they're tricking and scaring the American people into voting Republican. They have an agenda. That agenda means I got plenty of money, I want more money, and I don't care about you. But when you come to conversation, when it comes to debate, when it comes to making speeches, then they're going to say that that you are number one on their mind. I say check their record, check their budget, check their voting status, and then you will place your check for Robert Tillman for Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert, for your 1 minute rebuttal. We will now move to Thomas Jefferson for his 1 minute rebuttal. Thomas, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, your 1 minute starts now.
Okay, my rebuttal to Mr. Tillman, sadly enough, sitting next to me is our congressman, and he's a lawyer, and I cannot say that he exaggerated or lied about this Obamacare. And I would like to, but I can't. What I'd like to use my 1 minute is explaining what the replacement for it could be. Medical savings account of $4,800 per tax-paying citizen that they're allowed tax-free or tax-sheltered dollars. That can be spent on eyeglass, that can be spent on dental, medical, however you want to do it. And then Medicare starts at $250,001, and the private insurance is the backstop gap between the medical savings account and the Medicare. So that way everyone can have a cap. And then just the other day a guy was yelling at us, make a cap, leave it at that. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you for your 1 minute response, Thomas Jefferson. We will now move to Mike Pompeo for his 1 minute rebuttal. Mike, are you ready?
Ready to go.
Yeah, thank you. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. Look, I think Mr. Jefferson had it right. His solution, I think, is pretty close. What he talked about in very technical ways is giving power back to the patients and the doctors. Taking it from Washington, D.C., with a highly centralized bureaucracy, with a 15-person board that's going to decide which of you can get treatment and which of you can't based on how old you are and what your health conditions are. It's called the Independent Payment Advisory Board, and it's in Obamacare, and it would be really bad for seniors all across the state. What we've got to do is return power to patients and docs to let them sort out the best treatments and the best way to do it. And we've got to reward everyone in the healthcare system, whether it's medical device manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, insurance providers, all of the various docs, surgeons, primary care physicians, all the folks who are participants in the healthcare system, we've got to reward them for good outcomes. And when we do, we'll get good outcomes. It's a fundamental notion, and we can do it. We can do it well.
Thank you, sir. That will end the 1-minute rebuttals from all three candidates. Now we will move into the...
I'd like to thank all of the listeners and everyone that sat here as long as they have and listened to us drone on and on. But as a Libertarian candidate, it is something that I want to take to Washington, is that third-party sensibility. And oddly enough, the original Thomas Jefferson ran on the first official political party in the United States, the Democratic Republicans. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that we have a deadlock between Democrats and Republicans, and it was something that was Thomas Jefferson was both thereof. But as far as the Libertarian Party goes, we are for social tolerance, and we are for fiscal responsibility, and we are for equality. And that's something that we need, tax equality, I guess. We didn't really talk about tax equality, but definitely the Libertarian Party is absolutely for tax fairness and tax equality. It's something that we need to help with our jobs creators as much as we have to help with those that occupy those jobs that are created. I do think that we need to have we have to change health care. We can't have another watered down insurance reform that is just another hidden tax. We actually need true health care reform and the infighting. And that's why I'm running on the Libertarian ticket. It's just there's too much political infighting between the two parties, and we need to bridge the gap. And as your Libertarian candidate,
30 seconds.
I would be willing to go and try and help to bridge that gap. I don't know that there's going to be how much success there would be, but it's at least the direction that I would go, representing the constituents in this district, not only the business owners, but the people as well. I'm Thomas Jefferson, and November 6th, let's make it happen.
Thank you, Thomas, for your response, and thank you once again for being here. We will move right down the line to Mike for his 2-minute outro, if you will. Mike, are you ready, sir?
Ready.
Alrighty, thank you. Your time begins now.
Great, thank you. This is Mike Pompeo. Thanks to KSOK for hosting us, and thanks to all of you who have been listening. I was with a woman just yesterday who told me that she'd lost her second job in the aviation industry, and her husband had just found work driving a truck for the oil and gas sector. And she, please tell the president to stop bashing the aviation industry. She said, you know, we're paying a lot in taxes. It's been a tough road these last 3 years. Please try and get the federal government out of our way so that I can find work and that my husband will continue to have work as well. Those are the kinds of stories I've heard over the last 20 months as I've traveled from Coldwater to Madison and from Eureka to Kinsley and Greensburg. Those are the kinds of stories I hear all across South Central Kansas. We are a firm people, a hard people that know how to work and are unafraid of that. And my task is to make sure that we get the federal government back to a place where you can work. If we take fewer resources to Washington, D.C., we'll leave them here in our community so that you all can make the best decisions for yourselves. You can decide how much money you want to spend for your family, how much your local government should tax, all of the things that have made this republic so special and so unique for 225 plus years. I've worked hard for 21 months to do exactly what I told you I would do when I ran for office the first time. I think I've done that. I'd ask for your vote. If you've not already voted, get out there, put your ballot in the mail. Make sure you do go vote. It's the most fundamental American right. And I'd ask for your vote for myself and all of the folks who are running here in South Central Kansas on the Republican ticket. We can restore an economy that is growing at less than 2%. And that'll get all of us back to work, and good things happen all across America when we've got full employment. Thank you for your time tonight, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mike, for your 2-minute outro. We will end the United States House of Representatives District 4 with Robert Tillman's outro. Sir, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Thank you, Robert Tillman. Your 2 minutes start now.
I am Robert Tillman. I am a retired Kansas Supreme Court service officer. I have worked for government at the state level, the city level, and the county level. And I know what government is all about because I know it from the inside. And as a government official, I would never talk badly about government as Congressman Mike Pompeo does. And I think that he ought to be ousted from Congress because he represented you. sometimes we forget who government is. Government is the people, by the people. So when he talks about government being bad, he's saying that you're bad. He can't represent you in Washington, D.C. if he don't respect you. And he can't restore jobs because he's the one who, his Republican Party is the one who took those jobs. I am Robert Tillman, and I'm running for Congress to restore fiscal responsibility, civic responsibility, to restore jobs. I support the Patient Protection Affordable Act. I support immigration. I support regulating the industry. I support President Barack Obama. And I also support reducing the deficit, ending the wars, bringing the troops home, and spending that money in America. I also support you. I will do all that I can to make sure that those people that consider the 47% that are on the backs of America, the ones that
30 seconds.
That Mitt Romney said they're not doing their job. I support you because I know that you're out there struggling. You have been laid off, laid down, kicked around through no fault of your own. And now you have a representative in Washington, D.C. who wants to hold you down. And he wants to lift up the rich. And we think that the rich ought to pay back in taxes some of the money that they took. I am Robert Tillman, and I seek your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. And that will end our first part of the debate. Have newscow.net and KSOK, brought to us by Coon Mechanical. If it has anything to do with heating, cooling, water, or waste, Coon Mechanical can do it. We will be back here in just a bit. We're just going to do a couple songs, then we'll be back with the debate. Thank you very much.